Hey, everybody. We're back. Thank you. Well, welcome, everyone. We have another episode of Teen Talk. This is a podcast where we get a chance to dive into mental health from the perspective of today's youth. We will be discussing real-life mental health problems and talking about how mental health affects our teens. Each podcast will have teens from our community talking about their mental health and wellness, bringing awareness in an anonymous format, unfiltered and with current issues. And today, my name's Dalen, and I will be your host, and I have brought on Lisa. Was in an earlier podcast and had so much to say. We've really figured out that we need to do 2 segments with each of our guests. They have so much to share, so many insights, and Lisa really knocked it out of the park on our last one, so I wanted to bring her back and continue to talk. But before we get started today, I just want to encourage everyone to be aware of the feelings on mental health issues. Some of these topics we discuss are pretty heavy and can be polarizing. They can be triggering for those listening. And the listeners should not consider this therapy or advice and should be aware of their own mental health needs and seek help if that's appropriate to them. If you feel that you're having a psychiatric emergency, you should dial 911 or the new number for suicide emergencies, which is 988, or you can text 741-741, and then you can speak with a counselor via text. If you also feel that you need some support, you can reach out to Nexus, and we can offer some help and some guidance. And if we can't directly help you, we can offer referrals to your local area. And our website is www.nexusyfs.org. And our phone number is 209-257-1980, extension 101. So, Lisa, thank you for coming back.
Yes.
And we were just kind of talking off air that last podcast you had a lot of fun.
Yes.
So,
very fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Yes.
Is this the first time you've ever done a podcast and actually come into a studio and talk on mics?
Yes. Me and my friends have always talked about wanting to start a podcast, and I was always nervous, but it's not actually that scary.
Right.
It's fun.
Yeah. Well, when you talk about important stuff with people, see, human connection and talking with somebody and really connecting and talking about wonderfully fun and exciting and interesting things, that's so fun for people, right? I mean, how many times have you go and you talk to somebody and they're boring, like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's lame. I didn't have very much fun. But then when you your best friends and you're talking, you're having a good time, and you talk for hours, you want to do more of that.
Yeah.
Podcasting is like that.
Podcasting.
You talk to somebody interesting like yourself, and you're like, wow, and you have a great conversation. You're like, yep, I could do this all day. So I know why everybody wants to create a podcast now, because it's super fun.
It is so fun.
Yeah. So you had made a comment on our last podcast, and I want to kind of go to it. But first, let's kind of give a brief synopsis of kind of like what has happened to you in your life and your mental health journey.
Guess I never really knew what mental health was, or really looked into it. Like I said, until I was placed into the foster care system. But yeah, I think ever since I did start learning about it, I think it's very important. And it's something that everybody should learn about and look more into.
Okay. And so you were placed in the foster care system. You went through losing your family, fighting to get your dad back, and in the process, your mom, who wasn't in your life, you ended up getting her back in your life because they had made contact. And so you've been now struggling with being back with your family, and then also trying to add your mom into your life.
Yes.
And on top of that, you kind of hinted at this big bomb potentially in the last segment. You were you just kind of thrown out, and being a lesbian, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, all right, put a pin on that, and let's come back to that one later.
Yes.
And so I kind of thought it would be really important to talk about mental health for you, being a lesbian teenager, and what is that like? The day in the life of Lisa, what is that like?
Well, I think I've always known that I wasn't straight.
Okay.
I didn't come out until freshman year.
And who'd you come out to?
My dad.
Okay. How did he take that?
It was good. He didn't mind. He said that he'll support me no matter what. Yeah, it was good.
Okay.
Considering where we live, it is not a very, I guess I would say, popular thing like LGBTQ around where we live. So going back to school, being a lesbian, a more masculine lesbian, I guess people would say, was definitely hard.
So you came out at school.
Yeah.
So you were like, I'm telling everybody, I'm telling the world.
I mean, yeah, people kind of assumed, just considering the way I dressed, and people kind of just knew.
Kind of start talking behind your back.
Kind of just knew about it.
Lisa's gay.
Yeah.
Did you know Lisa's gay? I bet you Lisa's gay.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, it was definitely difficult because I went to school and I was the only, I guess, masculine lesbian in our school. So it was different. I think it was different for everybody. Yeah. You kind of feel like the odd one out.
Okay.
Because, I don't know. I don't really hang out with, like, boys. Because it's, like, I don't know. It's just, like, odd.
It's odd hanging out with boys?
Yeah, like...
Why?
Well, I guess I could just say the guys at my school are not very supportive of that. Or they tend to, like, sexualize it into, like, a weird thing. So, I don't know. I just kind of avoid it.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Right? Who wants to add drama to their life? Yeah, it's not every guy, but it's super hard for guys to be friends with girls when they know that the attractive factor is completely off the table.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And not every guy, I'm not saying that that's a blanket statement, guys. I'm not, don't everybody get, all worked up over that comment. I'm just saying for most guys in their teenage years, a bunch of hormones flowing through their body, they want to date girls and, they find girls attractive. And sometimes, many times, that gets in the way of a pure friendship, right? It takes a while sometimes for those guys to learn to be able to handle female friendships in a platonic way.
Yes.
Okay, so you experienced that. Now, so what about your female friends? How did that go?
It was good. I would say that a big thing that I did notice is when I came to my school, and I came out, it was kind of like a lot of other people started coming out.
So you're a trendsetter? Or you paved the way and you made it easy for people?
Yeah, I think, I would just say, because I did it so confidently and, I wasn't too worried about it, that other people kind of took that and they were like, okay, well, I guess it's not a bad thing, I guess I could do it. And
you know what? Leaders lead. Yeah. Right? And people follow a good leader.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay. How did you do it?
How did I do what?
How'd you come out? What'd you do?
Well, I guess, at school, I didn't really necessarily, come out to people at school. People just assumed. And if somebody would ask me, I would say, oh, yeah.
So not ashamed.
Okay.
You're just okay.
I'm gay. What about it?
Okay.
So
you didn't do, social media posts or anything like that? You just, if people came up, you just talked to them?
I just kind of said it.
And how many people came up and asked?
Not very many, because I think the word got around pretty fast.
Right. It's like as soon as you answer one person, it's like, gone. It's the rumor.
We have 300 kids at our school.
Okay.
It's kind of just
small community.
Yeah, everybody knew.
Now, were people that you didn't really know come up? It was like that weird, the weird person comes up and asks you, are you gay? Or was it like your friends ask and then they just kind of spread it?
No, I would have some people I don't know come up to me. But a big thing is when people did start finding out, I would have Like, people talk about me, and I didn't even know who they were. Like, even just the other day, I met this guy, and he was like, "Oh, I know who you are. You're the gay one, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I have no idea
Thanks.
who you are, but yeah.
Thanks for labeling me that way.
Yeah.
And you're the dumb one.
Yeah.
Oh, I know you. You're the dumb one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it made me pretty popular really fast.
Did you like that? Come on, what teenager doesn't like a little popularity?
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, it's okay, I guess.
It's okay.
But, like, I don't know.
Was it easier or harder to make friends?
Easier.
Easier.
Yes.
Because you're a little famous, or because everybody wanted to know a gay person? I mean, was it like a weird, like, you're the new superstar and you're different, so I want to be friends with you?
I think a big thing is that before I had came out and started dressing the way that I do and just, like, being myself, I would try to put on, like, this persona of, like, oh, I'm straight. Like, I used to have really long hair, like, stuff like that. So I would just try to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I made friends now just because, like, I'm just myself and I just be who I am. And I don't know.
People are attracted to confidence, regardless,
So, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if you can walk in your own skin and be comfortable with it, people
So I'm
like
not
that.
ashamed anymore.
Yeah.
I don't, it doesn't affect me anymore. I just.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said that you were kind of like, you led the way for other people to come out. So what was that like? So people are coming out now and they're, did you have an effect just on other female lesbians at your school, or were guys coming out and going, well, I'm gay too? What was that situation like?
I think a big part of people, quote unquote, coming out was that they were, like, confused on whether or not they were attracted to girls. It was mostly girls. So I think that they were confused on whether or not they were attracted to girls. And so everybody always came to me to talk about it. Everybody. If they had, like, oh, I'm confused, like, I don't know what I am, they would come to me automatically because, like, I was the only, like, known.
Right, you're out. You must know everything.
Yeah.
You must know everything there is to know.
Yeah.
I'm coming to you for help. Okay.
So most people would come to me about it, and I'm just like, like, go with the flow. Don't, like, label yourself. Just be yourself.
Wait,
like,
what? Say that again? Don't what yourself?
Don't label yourself. Cause, like,
But this is the culture of everybody has to label themselves to be different. Don't label you're giving advice not to label yourself?
Yeah, because
wow.
I've never really been a fan of labels. Because, like,
neither am I. I agree with it.
Yeah,
I just wanted to highlight that you said don't label yourself.
Yeah, don't label yourself. Just
And so you said don't label yourself, just go with the flow. And how did people take that advice? Do you think it was help to people?
Yeah, I think it helped.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it helped. Yeah.
How many people do you think came up to you and talked about it?
Oh. Probably, like, at least 10.
10.
Yeah.
In a small school?
Yeah.
That could be a lot. Because that's the people that were brave enough to come talk to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how many people that weren't brave enough?
Who knows?
But maybe the 10 people you talked to, they talked to the other people that were embarrassed to come up to you, right? So who knows how many people you affected in a positive way. Okay. And so after some time at school, how do people treat you now?
It's changed a lot. When I first went to school and people knew, people were kind of hesitant, I think, because it was such, like, a new thing here. Like, it was, like, such a new thing for people in my school. So I think people were hesitant to, like, be friends with me and, like, talk to me about it, or, like, just, like, in general. But I think now it's changed a lot. Considering there's not that many people at my school, I think people have just accepted it, and it's not a big thing anymore.
Okay, so
like,
you've kind of gay. Okay.
Hey, was gay. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you think normalizing it a little bit? You know what normalize means?
What do you mean?
So it's like because you came out and you were talking about it, people are coming up to you and asking about it. It just becomes like, oh, this thing that Lisa's gay, other people are gay, and she's cool. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it feels normal. It's like it's not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
And it's something that people just, it makes it a part of their everyday activity.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think people really focus on it anymore. It's just
It is.
It's just Lisa. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Did that have any effect on your mental health? So as we tie it back to kind of some of the stresses of high school, there's a social aspect of that. And so were you having any problems with people? Did you lose any friends over this? And you're dealing with other things. We talked about on that last podcast with you missing out on being taken out of the house. And so how is your mental health and coming out? Like, is this all happening at the same time?
Yeah, for the most part. I think in the beginning it was hard on my mental health. It was because some people would make comments on it and say the F slur to me, and just little things about it, or comment on how I dress. Like, oh, you're a girl. And I'm like, well, yeah. No. So I think in the beginning it was hard, but like I said, it's just kind of become Lisa now, so.
Okay. What did the adults do? I mean, because I can imagine that this for a time was, the new wildfire rolling through schools. How did they handle the situation? Did teachers talk to you? Did you talk to teachers or any of the adults?
Not really, no.
So they didn't factor in? Why?
I don't know, because they didn't mind.
They didn't mind?
Yeah.
How do you know they didn't mind?
Well, at least, they did a good job pretending if they didn't.
Okay. Well,
because they were all nice.
They were all nice, too. So it was a non-issue for them.
Yeah.
And they just treated you just like the person they had already known.
Yeah.
Did anybody inquire, like, hey, I kind of heard this, that you came out. Are you doing okay? Did anybody inquire to check on you?
Not really.
Not really?
Mm-mm.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, if you were doing okay and you were,
Yeah, I was fine.
You were fine. So they were like, well, she looks fine.
Yeah.
She's doing okay.
Yeah.
I don't see her crying in the corner, not showing up to school, or grades going down. All of the telltale signs that says that we've got a student in distress.
Even if people did make negative comments, I didn't let it affect me.
Okay.
I just kind of went on with my day.
Do you have a connection with any adults at school?
Yes, quite a few.
Okay, so the adults on campus do play an important role in your life.
Yes.
Well, can you describe what that looks like? Because for me, high school was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And I had a couple teachers that I had a connection with. And some of the teachers, they were the one that initiated a really interesting connection with me. Because, teachers are people, right? And some teachers really just love their students. But, teachers have favorites.
Oh, yeah.
Just because of your personality, right? And so I had a teacher that would always talk to me and just start talking about family life stuff, and then would talk about her daughter. And, I'm like 16, her daughter's 15. She goes, oh, you'd be great if you dated my daughter. And I was like, wait, what? This is weird. And then, but, over the course of that, though, as a teacher, she ended up being kind of like a mom to me. And it was really nice, that interaction. And I could go hang out in her class at lunch, and she would stay after and talk after class with me. And so she initiated a special connection. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, she's cool. All right, cool. Mm-hmm. Let's talk. And, so that happened. And then there were some teachers that, because I gave a little effort, an extra effort as a student, they were like, oh, this kid cares. And then we would, a bond, would happen with the teacher. So for you, what does that look like when you, for creating a connection with your teachers?
Well, I have a good connection with, say, 3 of my teachers.
Okay.
I'm pretty close with 3 of my teachers.
And have you had them as teachers in your class? Because sometimes we have a connection with a teacher, just like the one that we always eat in at lunch, right? And you've never had a class with them, but they talk to you and they're awesome.
No, I've had classes with all of them.
Okay.
But I guess, yeah, I didn't really initiate one of them. It was kind of, she knew my brother. So
Okay.
she kind of just started talking to me, and we gained a connection from there.
Okay. And how important do you feel being connected with some of the adults on campus how important has that been to you?
It's very important because school can be hard.
Right.
Drama could be, there's a lot of drama. High school's hard. It's rough. So I think it's important to have people on campus, adults on campus, who you feel comfortable enough going to talk to and being there for you.
Talk to me about high school being rough. Because everybody listening to this podcast either is going through it, thinks they know what it's going to be like if they're younger, or they've gone through it. And everybody has had their own unique experience in high school. So what does being tough mean to you?
Well, there's a lot of different aspects, I think. Even your schoolwork, your friends, family life can play a big role on school. So I guess I don't know, it's different for everybody, but
what are your biggest struggles with school?
Like a class or like?
Well, if I made you write a list of all the crap that you have to deal with that makes school hard, what would be on your list?
Drama.
Friend drama?
Friend drama, not friend drama. You getting dragged into drama. People talking about you. English. English is so hard. Yeah, I think those are the biggest ones for me.
Okay. Why is English tough?
English has always been hard for me. Always. I don't know. It's always been my biggest struggle.
I didn't learn to write till I was in grad school. I could not write to save my life. In elementary school, I'm like, I can write a sentence.
Yeah.
And then junior high, bad grades. I would get a bad grade, and I would have to have my mom help me rewrite everything.
Yeah.
And then she would just write the whole thing for me, and I couldn't do it. And then in high school, I'd just get C's after C's after C's. It's well, you turned it in on time. It's the length that I asked for.
Yeah.
It's got the right amount of sentences, so I'll give you a C.
Yeah.
But there was nothing of quality there.
Yeah.
And I remember in college, I turned in a couple papers. F, come see me. And I'm like, oh no. And and it wasn't. I didn't learn to write until a buddy of mine. I gave him my paper, and I'm like, hey, can you proofread this for me? And he sat me down. And he goes, we need to talk. And he just kind of showed me a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is how you write? This is how you share an idea?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's never really been the writing for me. It's always the reading. Reading has always been so tough for me. I don't know. I don't know. I just can't do it.
Is it because you don't want to sit still for it? Or is it you read something, you got to reread it?
My attention span. And because I'll read something and then I just forget. I just have no clue what I just read. So I have to go back and reread it and just keep doing that. And I don't know. It's just rough.
Okay.
I've tried audiobooks.
Oh, and how's that?
It doesn't, I don't know.
Doesn't do it for you?
It's too I don't know.
Well,
it's just weird.
Here's the weird thing with audiobooks. I can't sit still like we are right here and have an audiobook going. I have to be doing something.
Yeah. I can't focus and just listen in on that book that's going and
Right. I get so distracted.
Yeah.
But if I'm driving, audiobook's my favorite friend.
Really?
I can hours over the road just listening to audiobooks. I do that to and from work. But in class, though, what I have found helps me is if I have my textbook on audio and I'm reading it at the same time. So I'm reading it and I'm hearing it. I can stay focused a little bit more. But just reading, so hard. I get you. So hard.
Yeah.
So English drama, friend drama, how do you think that affects your mental health on campus?
I think it affects your mental health a lot.
In what way?
I would say it's very negative because that feeling that people are talking about you or like there's a rumor going around about you is obviously not a good feeling.
No.
And so, especially in like the school aspect, like that's all you can think about at school is like, oh, these people are saying this and this and this. When it's like, you're at school to like learn and whatever, So yeah, I think
it feels like the kids haven't been at school to learn since like the 1950s.
Yeah.
Right? It's all about social stuff now.
Yeah.
And making it through that. So let's say you've got some friends that they're suffering with all sorts of stuff. Because everybody's got drama, right? Household drama. They've had traumatic things happen to them. And you see that one of your friends is really struggling. How do you support them? Like, what do you say as a friend?
I guess it depends on what they're going through.
Okay. Do you ask? Like, if you know somebody's suffering with something, like they're dealing with something, do you inquire and try and dig into it?
If they want to talk about it.
Are you nosy?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty nosy.
See, everybody we talk to is like, oh, well, it depends. And if if I think they want help, it's like, I was nosy.
Oh, yeah. No, I'll definitely ask.
Okay.
But if you're like, I don't want to talk about it, well, I'm not going to push you to talk about it.
You don't go, why don't you want to talk about it?
Yeah. No.
You don't want to talk about it?
No.
What do you mean you don't want to talk about it?
Yeah.
You talked to me about the last thing. Come on, talk to me about this.
Yeah.
You dig in? You got to dig in.
Yeah.
It's almost like, I think sometimes people get like, oh, I don't want to burden you. It's not that important. And inside they're like, please ask again. Please ask me one more time. I want to know that you care.
Yeah.
Right? There's that voice inside of them that's doing that. So you dig. Do you ask your friends for help?
Yes.
How do you do that?
I do.
What does that sound like? The script from a teenager. Yo, bro, I need some help. What do you say?
Not necessarily like that, Dylan. More like, well, I guess I talk to two of my good friends about. That's usually who I go to talk to is two of my good friends. I'll FaceTime them, and I just kind of start ranting.
Okay.
And they just listen.
How often do you think you're FaceTiming about stuff like that versus in person?
Probably a majority of the time.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So when you're face to face with them, it's like easy stuff?
Sometimes we get into like deep talking like that and like let our feelings out.
Okay.
But I feel like when we're face to face, we're all like diddly doo dah, hanging out with your friends, and so
diddly doo dah.
So it's
is that one of the things the teenagers say these days?
So it's not really like something that gets brought up, I guess.
God, hey everybody, let's get together and doodly doo dah. Okay. So have you ever found that it's for your friends? So this is a double-edged question for you and your friends. What stops you from getting help from your friends? What stops you from asking for help? What stops them from asking you for help?
I think it's the fact that we all know we're going through so much that you don't want to burden them, like you said.
How does that make you feel when they have not disclosed important stuff to you?
What the heck?
What the heck? Some insert F word there? Yeah. What the heck? Why didn't you talk to me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I have heard that so often. I didn't want to trouble you with what I was going through. I didn't want to make it a big deal. I didn't want to burden you. I didn't want to bother you with it. And you're going, what the heck am I here for? I'm here for you.
Yeah.
Use my help, right?
Exactly.
Oh, man. I hope somebody hears that. Just talk to your friends. They want to know what's going on.
Definitely.
Don't play games.
Yeah. It's not a burden.
Right. You feel good when you help somebody, right? Yeah. It makes you feel like, I'm a good friend.
Yes.
I totally help my friend.
Because obviously I'm going through a lot, but I'm here for you and you're here for me.
Right. And if you're going through a lot, sometimes it's an escape to deal with somebody else's problems.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, thank God for the next hour I don't have to think about mine.
Yeah.
I can help you with yours. That's way easier than dealing with my stuff.
Exactly.
Okay. Hear that, people.
Yes.
Talk to your friends. So let's say you talk to a friend and they unload something serious. You know what? I'm going to end it. I'm going to commit suicide. Or I'm thinking of committing suicide, or I'm going to run away. You know, the big stuff. What would you say to them when they need, to a friend who needed help with their mental status? With something like that?
Probably recommend therapy.
You'd recommend therapy?
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
It's a good question. I don't know. Nobody's ever really told me that.
Okay, so that you haven't run
been put
across
in that situation.
Okay. Do you think you haven't been put in that? Have you known people though that have gone through something significant after the fact? Like a buddy of yours that was like, "Oh, you wanted to commit suicide? You didn't tell me." Have you run across anybody after the fact that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they didn't go to you for help when. Okay. And that's not on you, right?
Yeah, but I think a big joke nowadays that kids say is, "Oh, I'm gonna kill myself."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just kind of like it's just something people joke about.
Right.
Like if something small happens, I'm gonna kill myself.
So how do you figure out what's the real deal and what's just stuff they're saying?
Well, I guess with my friends, I can kind of tell.
Okay. So when you know somebody, you're like you can sift through the BS a little bit. Okay. And are you looking for that? Like, are kids like everybody's joking about it, but secretly they're sifting through? Like, is that a real one? Is that a real one? Okay.
People definitely do that.
Is that an alert?
Yeah.
Oh no, he's
like,
just
are
he's
you
joking.
Being serious?
He's joking.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's good to hear that you guys are listening for that.
Oh yeah.
Has anything on campus helped you to recognize how to help somebody? Like, has there been any program? Has anybody come on campus and talked about mental health that you thought, oh, that's good to hear that, or I'm glad they said something about that?
Not really. It's not something we really learn about on campus. People don't really talk about it much. But for me personally, I think that I've learned a lot, like going to Nexus and going to therapy and the classes that I go to like figure out the differing signs of somebody who is suicidal or who does need help.
Okay. So here at Nexus, you don't just have therapy, you're in other programs, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you're getting multiple areas of support.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you think that you would recommend that to people when they're in significant need?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I think that's interesting because I've gotten different answers. There's some people that are like, I don't want to poke my nose in somebody's business. And then there's some people like, oh yeah, I'd tell them exactly. It's helped me. So
obviously I'm going to recommend it.
Okay. I think that's great.
Yeah.
What could adults do at school to help in this situation? Like if a teacher or a principal was hearing this, or the custodian, or the office secretaries, or the office administrative assistants, not the office secretaries. The people on campus that care. What do you think they could do to help?
I think be more aware. Because I think that, like, for example, a big thing is people sleeping in class. I've known some people who sleep in class because they can't sleep at home. Like, there's so much going on at home that you cannot sleep at home. Like, people are yelling, arguing all the time. Like, I know people like that. And then teachers will tell them, oh, get up. Like, I think that's, like, a really big thing is, like, I don't know, just kids sleeping in class is a big thing.
So you think that's a big red flag?
Yes.
It's not just a tired teen. It's somebody who actually is suffering somehow.
Sometimes they just don't want to do anything.
Sure. But you think an adult should go and find out why they're sleeping?
Just checking on them and make sure they're okay, yeah.
And I think it's hard, and tell me if I'm wrong, but if I'm a teacher and I come up to you and you're sleeping and I go, hey, Lisa, wake up. Hey, are you doing okay? What's your answer? I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I'm just tired. So then it's not just about inquiring. It's about digging.
Yeah.
Right? So, and I think that's tough. Because you got to take that, you've got to take every opportunity to go, well, you've slept a couple times in my class. That typically means that you're not sleeping at home. Why aren't you sleeping at home? And then when you ask those open-ended questions, then you get somebody like, oh, well, I'm not sleeping because my dad took my bed away. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got in trouble and he took everything out. I'm sleeping on the floor and it's uncomfortable. And then we've got fleas on the ground. Yeah. And so they bite me all day or all night and I can't sleep. Oh, and then the teacher has had a chance or whoever it is, it doesn't have to be a teacher, but that adult is like, oh, I just found out more information because I dug a little deeper. Yeah. So, yeah, asking. I think I really like the fact that you brought up sleeping as a red flag because I think too often we don't recognize the signs of distress in our young folks, in our teenagers. Yeah, that's a good one. Any other recommendations from the mind of a future FBI agent?
I think another big one is I actually talked to someone about this the other day because I started noticing it in them, is that one of my friends used to come to school dressed nicely, with her makeup done and her hair done. And then I started noticing this decline. And she started not wearing makeup anymore and didn't do her hair. And she would wear her pajamas to school. And I don't know, I guess I could just kind of see it on her face that she wasn't doing too good. So I think that's it's kind of a harder one to notice, but.
Sure.
Yeah.
What ended up being her problem?
Her boyfriend. Her boyfriend was just, emotionally abusive. Was really mean to her. Yeah.
So she was kind of getting
just
in her own shell
yeah.
and pushing away from everybody. She didn't feel good about herself, so she stopped wearing makeup. And
yeah.
Was he saying stuff like "you're ugly" and all that stuff to her?
Yeah. And would he would be mean to her at school, in front of everybody and embarrass her.
What do people do when they see that?
It's kind of sad. People don't really do anything. I did something. I stepped in and was like, okay, this is enough. This is not the right place and time. But people, I don't know. People don't really do anything. Not really.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
If you're a guy and you happen to notice that, you've got to be ready for a physical confrontation with that guy because he's not going to like it when you say something to him. And if you talk to her, then he's going to get physically in your face because now you're talking to his girlfriend he's controlling.
And I think a big thing is people don't want drama. People don't want to be talked about. So they just...
So you have to be strong enough to go against the grain and not care what the repercussions are because you see something needs to be done. So what did you do?
I just stepped in and I was like, this is not the right place and time for this. You go to your class, she can go to her class. And you guys just take some time away from each other, calm down.
So you were stopping an argument?
Yeah.
Okay. Was she fighting back in the argument?
No, she kind of just takes it.
She was just shut down?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you talk to her afterwards?
Oh,
go hey, what's happening?
Yeah.
What did you say to her?
I kind of just was you can't let him treat you like that. And she's like, I know, but I love him. And I'm like, you can't. You physically cannot. Keep doing this to yourself. And I pointed out that I noticed how she was changing and her makeup and everything. She was like, I know, and she just cried and I just let it all out. And yeah.
So what happened after that?
She's still dealing with it.
Yeah. It's tough, huh?
But I talk to her all the time.
Okay.
I let her know that I'm here for her.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You never know what conversation is the one that helps, Maybe they need to hear it 101 times.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways that people stay stuck in, bad relationships. How about any other adults? Do they notice it?
Not really.
Could you go to one of the teachers that you're close with and say, hey, I noticed so-and-so is going through this issue and this is what I've seen and I've witnessed it. I think she needs help?
Yeah, but I don't think she would accept it.
What if, I hear you, she might not accept it,
Mm-hmm.
but at a certain point it becomes maybe a little bit abusive, and so when adults get involved, maybe they contact parents.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that girl's parents need to know that she's suffering from abuse, mental abuse.
Yeah.
There might not be any physical hitting or anything like that, but it's somebody who's mistreating her, and maybe their parents need to know. Have you thought about talking to an adult to get them involved?
I've thought about it.
Thought about it? It's something that could be done. You could ask her if her parents know.
Yeah.
Do your parents know that he treats you this way?
Mm-hmm.
No or yes. Who knows what she would say.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are some... I think it's always important to get an adult just to get their ideas, because you never know when they've crossed the line and that crossed the line, that's abuse.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get some significant help in here,
Yeah, definitely.
because we don't want her, suffering anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Any, additional suffering.
Yeah.
Wow. That's big stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you continue to talk to her?
Yep.
Okay. Have you been friends with her for a while?
No, not that long.
No. And you started being her friend because you just noticed that she was acting different and that she might need help?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I gravitate towards people who are going through a hard time. I don't know. So, yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. You like to help people.
Yeah.
And you start to recognize
pretty close pretty fast. So.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
she probably needed it.
Yeah.
She needs somebody to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when you're going through a tough spot, somebody to talk to is what you need, a.k.a. therapy.
Yeah.
But I just want to reiterate, though, that you mentioned a telltale sign of seeing somebody's behaviors change.
Mm-hmm.
So they're dressing nice, and then they start dressing like they're in PJs all the time, and they stop wearing makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Or, they're outgoing, and then they change.
Mm-hmm.
Or, they weigh a certain weight, and within 3 months, they've lost a super amount of weight for their frame, and all of a sudden you're like, they're not eating.
Yeah.
Right. So those are all things that I think it's important for people listening to this podcast. There's telltale signs when somebody's in distress, and the fact that you notice that's huge.
Yeah.
You're always looking out for your friends, noticing those types of things.
Yes.
That's the FBI investigator in you.
Yep.
You've got a promising career ahead of you.
Yeah.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much for coming in today. We're at 42 minutes, so this is a pretty good podcast. You just kind of letting us into your world. I really appreciate all of your comments and letting us in, sharing your insights, and just thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
All right, everybody, that's another episode of Teen Talk. I'm Dalen. We'll see y'all later.